You'll never get to
It's because I was gonna
do
do
it.
7, which three is it? 3, 2. Yeah, right? Alright.
Are we gonna have a calculator on this quiz?
That's like intelligence right there. Now you can calculate. Oh, by the quiz, we're gonna do it next Tuesday. We're just kind of slow playing here this first section. We're gonna take 11-2 today and tomorrow. Give you some time in class to do work. 11-3 Friday. And then review Monday, we'll quiz on Tuesday. It was too big of a rush to get it in on Friday. I didn't want to give you a Monday quiz, so that's kind of the what's the word I want to use? That is the plan, but that is the alternative. That's the concession I'll make. Maybe a concession. We'll go with that. Questions? Justin, any questions? Nope. Don't lie to me. All right. Anybody? Nope. Okay. All right. We're going to start 11-2, which is strictly arithmetic sequences. 11-2. 11-1 is kind of like a hodgepodge of things. You just got to base upon the pattern. It could be a different general term. But we're going to talk about arithmetic sequences, find the common difference, and then we're going to find the sum. We're going to save that for tomorrow on here. All right, just quick examples. These are arithmetic sequences. 3, 7, 11, 15, 19, 23. What's going on with that sequence? It's going up 4 every time, right? Okay. 25, 22, 19, 16, 13. What's going on with that one? Down 3. -5, -7 halves. -2, -1/2, 1, 5 halves. Not quite as obvious, but
up 1.5.
Up 1.5. Okay, so arithmetic sequence. It either increases or decreases by a common amount. He's going to go up 4 every time, down 3, up 1.5. Okay, where's my definition? All right, the sequence is an arithmetic sequence, or they call it a progression. If there's a number D, and they refer to that as the common difference, if there's a number D such that each term in the sequence, except the first, is obtained from the preceding term by adding D to it. The number D is called the common difference. Now, you will more than likely be able to identify what D is by looking at it. There might be some cases where you're not sure. All you got to do is take any term minus the previous term. As long as it's the same number, you're good. Well, we know up here that D is 4. 11 minus 7 is 4. 23 minus 19 is 4. It's always going to be the case. It's how you figure out your common difference. Like if you're not sure, like I think I know it, but I'm not sure, you just subtract. D is -3. Yes, D can be a negative. 22 minus 25, -3. 13 minus 16, -3. And then D here is, what do we say, positive 1.5? 1.5. So you take anything, -1.5 minus -2, we'll give you positive 1.5. 5 halves minus 1, we'll give you 1.5. Okay. So that's basically the case. You know, the 6th term minus the 5th term, 7th minus 6. However you want to look at that. All right, the nth term of an arithmetic sequence. Okay, the nth term, I think you got a nice blank there. This is going to be a very important little hold on here. That's all I wanted to do. Very important formula that comes up in not just today, but in other scenarios. So A sub n equals the first term plus n minus 1 times D. So you're just basically adding. That tells you, all right, I added, like, if I want the 11th term, that means you added that common difference 10 times. Okay, so you can figure that out. A1 is the first term. D is the common difference. Okay, for that. All right. You got 3 of them there. Determine whether arithmetic. Tell me what D is. Okay, just list D underneath it. If it's not arithmetic, there is no D value. You just put not arithmetic.
Shoo.
Bless you.
Shoo.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Holly, what do you think for the first one?
D equals 0.8.
So yes, it is arithmetic, and D equals 0.8. Aiden, second one.
No.
No, it is not arithmetic. Don't let that, if you just look at it quickly, you see 2, 4, 6, 8. Don't, you got negatives in there. It's not arithmetic. So no, not arithmetic. All right, and Katie, third one.
Isn't it D equals 5?
No. D equals -5. Okay, it's negative. So D equals -5. So it's going from 12 to 7 to 2. If it's going down, D has to be negative. If it's going up, D has to be positive. Okay, that's all you got to do is identify it. More often than not, arithmetic's not, you're going to see it. But if you're, I don't know, if they throw some decimals at you, you might have to subtract for that. All right, we did this in section 11.1. We're doing it again. In 11.1, you just kind of did guess and check. We're going to use the formula, even though you might be able to come up with it by just trial and error. I'm going to use the formula just to get in that habit. Find an expression for the nth term of the arithmetic sequence. Since I am told it is arithmetic, and usually by looking at it, you can figure it out. D is going to be what in this case? 4. I'm going to use that general form that they gave me. That general form being a sub n equals a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. Well, what did we say from 11.1? We said if it goes up by 4, what has to be in the final term? Of what? 4 what? 4 n. So there's going to be a 4n in it. Okay, and yeah, you could probably figure it out, but like I said, I'm still going to go through the procedure just because. So here, all I got to do is plug in the values I know. A sub n equals the first term, -3, plus n minus 1 times 4. Distribute the 4. I get 4n minus 4, and then just combine like terms. A sub n equals 4n minus 7. And a more like not, you said, all right, there's got to be a 4n in it to get to -3. I do 4n minus 7. Okay, that'll work, and that's fine if you're just told, just give me the general term. But I'm going to go through, like I said, this process. All right, so there's your equation. It's got to work for all of them. When n is 2, you got to get 1. When n is 3, you got to get 5, and so on. All right, the second one. Copy down those values. Probably not as obvious. First one you looked at, you said, yeah, D is 4. I can figure out what's going on. This one, all right, you might have to look at it a little bit closer. But you're told it's arithmetic. Okay, so it has to be. D is what? -3.5. D is -3.5. So if I'm figuring this out, A sub n, you're going to use this, equals A sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. So A sub n equals the first term, which is 9, plus n minus 1 times -3.5. All right, you're better off if you put that -3.5 in parentheses, because if you don't, it's going to look like you're subtracting it, which is not the case. Okay, you are multiplying that by n minus 1. distribute that, so I get A sub n equals 9 minus 3.5n plus 3.5. And then I get A sub n equals negative 3.5n plus 12 and a half. Check it. Does it work for 1? When you plug in 1, you get 9. When you plug in 2, you get 5.5. When you plug in 3, do you get 2? Okay, so that has to be the case. That has to match up. And it what does in this case. All right, so I give you the arithmetic sequence. You just give me the general term. All right, look at this one here on the bottom. Find the common difference D and the nth term A sub n. So we got to find that equation. But we got to find D first. Of an arithmetic sequence whose 75th term is 15 and whose 90th term is 45. All right, without me, spoiling all your fun, see if you can figure out what D is. And if you think you got it, just quietly raise your hand. And I'll let you know if you're right or wrong.
Oh, no, you're right. You're not. I need to sign some of those first. Because,
Very good observation. That's why we got to find D. Yeah. I did that. Yeah, you're right. In a second.
it's too bad.
Once you fill in this.
Oh.
Just
Just think about it.
I use this
Just
equation.
think about it.
It's
Right, that's what
15
I'm
and it's 15 away from 45.
Okay, so if it's 31, the 75th term is 15, what would be the 76th term?
I use this equation.
I use this. Oh,
It's 31.
Yeah.
no.
I didn't write out the equation.
Well, you don't need to write it. Just, I want to make sure I understand the concept. If the 75th term is 15, what would you do to get the 76th term? You would add D. What's your D value?
31.
So it's 15 plus 31.
45. Or you just.
It's 46.
Or 46.
But that's the 90th term.
15 plus 2 times 15.
Not the next term. All right, what's D? 2. All right, D's 2. All right, now, think about this. All right, here's where you're going. The 75th term is 15. The 90th term is 45. So it's going up. So it's D positive or negative? Positive. So you got to add whatever you get to 15, to jump to the 90th term to get 45. So just think about it. If D is 5, I'm just throwing this out there. If D is 5, what's the 76th term? 20. And then the 77th term would be 25. You just keep adding 5. All right, so we got to go from the 75th term to the 90th term, and it jumps from 15 to 45, which is how big of a interval there? 30 goes 30 values. In how many terms? 15. So to go 30 values in 15, it's got to go how many each time? 2. So really, here's all you do is D equals, you take the difference in the terms, 45 minus 15, over what the term place, 70 minus 50, 90 minus 75. 45 minus 15 is 30. It took 15 spots to get to there, that many values. 30 divided by 15 is 2. That will work. If you get really nasty numbers, it's not that easy. You're going to have to fall back on a process. All right, so that's my D value. What's my general term, which was what's your equation? It's got to look like this, like a sub n equals, instead of 4n, it's going to be 2n. And then a sub n equals negative 3.5n plus 12.5. So I got to have something where my 75th term is 15, my 90th term is 45. All right, I'm going to go to this so that we at least have a procedure. A sub n equals the first term plus n minus 1 times d. Well, in the other two examples, we had the first term, right? Do we have the first term right here? No. Now, you could figure it out if you started at 15 and counted backwards 75 times and you subtracted 2. That would be a little, and there's different ways you can get there. But how can we find, I want you to think about how can I use that equation to find the first term? Okay.
You have 45n for an, and then 90n for n.
Okay. Yes, we are going to use the point. The 90th term, a sub 90, the 90th term is 45. So that means that your n value is 90. Your n value is 90, and when you plug in that, and that means you get 45 for an answer. So I can plug in 45 equals the first term, I don't know what it is, plus 90 minus 1. That's a 90. It looks like a 9. 90 minus 1 times d, which is 2. Times d, which is 2. And now we just go through and solve this. 45 equals a sub 1. 89 times 2, what is that, 178? Minus 178. And that gives me negative 133 equals a sub 1. Now, she said the 90th term. We could have also used what other term? The 75th term. So the 75th term is 15, which means n equals 75. So you could plug 15 in here, 75 in there, you still get negative 133. Now I'm going to go back to, and I'm going to do it just like I did on the other one. I got a sub n equals the first term plus n minus 1 times d, and I'm going to solve for a sub n. My first term is negative 133 plus n minus 1 times 2, and then I'm going to solve that, or simplify that, and that'll be my final answer. Okay, you're not done until you get that. Okay, because it asks for two things. It asks for the d value, which we did figure out to be 2, and then what's the general term? So I get a sub n equals negative 133 plus 2n minus 2. And that's 2n minus 135. If you really want to make sure you got it right, plug in 75. What should you get back? Better get back 15. If you plug in 90, you better get back 45. Okay, before that. All right, so that one's a little bit more involved. Depending on what values they give you, sometimes you can, count backwards to figure out the first term, but this method will work as well. Okay, for that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and give you the assignment, let you do that in class, or get it done in class. I think I've talked to most of you, not all of you, except for Lizzie, about what your grade was, and then what were course recommendations. I got to do that. So I'm going to kind of do course recommendations while you're doing that and put in homework. Get this done, work on this till you're finished.